And he did.
Booker the drive, gets inside, leads in, knocked away and stolen by Holiday. Phoenix has the foul, and a foul, throws it down. And a foul. Working against Butler, got downhill, couldn't punch it. Bam says, get it out of here. Adebayo, sky high with the block and rejection. That's why he's NBA All-Defensive Team. To Caldwell Pope inside, he's tied up by Green. Throws it back up top, James puts up the three. Oh, it's gone! LeBron James from downtown as the shot clock expires.
Gets it into Durant. Here is Durant moving on Tucker. He turns, he shoots.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Deep Takes from 3, presented by the Athletes Hub. I'm Devin Withers, alongside, as always, Gary Sunnyberger, Isaiah Hansen. Fellas, new year, same us. How are we doing over there?
I'm good. I don't know about Isaiah, but I don't know about new me. I feel like my cells regenerate a lot quicker than most people, especially when I'm watching basketball and everyone's out with COVID. I don't know what to do. I don't know who's playing. I'm not sure. I don't no idea.
I gave the little shoulder shrug. This is the first stream, by the way. I'm on COVID protocols myself. So
no.
There we go. Well, listen, guys, I'm excited to be here. This is our 7th episode. We did a great run over in 2021, took a couple of weeks off, spent the holidays with our families, our friends, our loved ones, but I'm excited to be back. We have a great show. We're going to be talking about some all-stars that might be showing up in the new year, maybe some all-stars that sort of faded away that made it last year, but they, just haven't gotten on that same rhythm this time. And I've also come out with a new series on theathleteshub.org. You guys are going to have to check it out because I've been talking with Gary and Isaiah in this nonstop. I call it the lock of the day, where I'd be making these sports gambling bets. I'm a degenerate, but a lot of research goes into these picks. I believe over in the past couple of weeks, we've gone about 48-19, which is pretty good. Obviously, we're not going to get every single one, but 48-19, it's pretty good. So if you're looking to make some quick money, that's the quickest way to do it. So I'm excited to see what these guys think over with Gary and Isaiah. We'll get to that a little bit later. But first, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about this All-Star game. We don't know how it's going to go with the actual COVID protocols. We don't know whether there's even going to be an All-Star game. But what we can do is analyze the talent in the NBA, who's been on the hot start, who's sort of had cold feet the first couple of months. So we're going to be talking about some all-stars that, weren't elected to the all-star game per se last year, but they deserve to have their spots. So let's start there. Gary, I want to start with you. What's one non-all-star, someone who wasn't elected to the all-star game last year, but they're going to make it this year?
I think this is a really obvious choice, especially from what happened last year. His team didn't have a great record. He was kind of pinned back as sort of a third year take a step back guy. Of course, they were able to get better on during the season and go far in the playoffs. But the person I'm talking about is Trae Young. He's 20. Right now this season he's scoring 27 points per game and 9.4 assists. I wrote an article earlier this week stating my top 10 point guards. Well, really, the Athletes Hub's top 10 point guards. I know. I also had number 2 in the NBA this year, controversial over good time, which I'm the only one who voted that way. But yeah, this team is obviously underperforming right now. But Trae, the reason that, if anything, he's the reason they're good. In the last 3 games after the season, Trae put up 5 and 11, 6 and 11, 9. Just incredible. You'd like that to be better, but right now Trae Young is doing what in the year the entire been shooting well. And Trae Young's fact that he is one of the best half-court players in the NBA. I've looked this on the last dog when Trey scored 102.2 points per 100 half court plays. Not only is that incredibly impressive, it's 96th percentile in the league, which would basically make him top 3. Yeah, he's just incredible this year. I don't see him being an all-star team right year in a row.
Yeah, and that's a great point. You're lagging a little bit over there. We're going to try to get that connected as soon as possible. But I want to jump over to you because Gary makes a great point. I think anytime that Trae Young is on that floor, clearly a superstar talent. I think it would have been, without a doubt, last year he would have been in that same conversation. But for you, what's sort of your criteria? What's one guy that you're sort of looking at, wasn't elected last year, but this year he's a shoo-in?
Similar to Gary's situation, all you got to do is really say the name and the point is proven. I mean, Trae Young, I had to do a double take just like for my guy. I had to do a double take. Wait, this guy really wasn't an all-star last year? I got to go with Ja Morant. I've been really high on him. He's gained a lot of my respect this season in particular. Right now, even with the missed time, he's averaging 25 points a game. He's winning basketball games for the Memphis Grizzlies, which they've had a hard time staying relevant for many years. They're a lower market team, not the most desirable place for free agents. He's not on a stacked roster, though he has some decent rotation players such as Jarrett Jackson, and he's had some, contributions from other parts of the game for him. But yeah, that's a shoo-in. I mean, this guy's he's might be a top 5 point guard in the league right now. I definitely got him in there over Russell Westbrook and some other guys for the All-Star this year. So I'm going to go with Ja Morant. Sorry, guys, I'm going to keep my rants a little bit shorter to avoid coughing and spreading in everybody's face. But I think the point's proven with Ja Morant.
Listen, both of you guys.
If I could catch Kobe the screen.
Yeah, and both of you guys make some really valid points, I think, without a doubt. I mean, there's only so many point guard spots that are going to be left. I know Gary just came out with a great article, is sort of referred to it, where Ja Morant stacks up against all the other point guards. You guys are going to have to check that out on theathleteshub.org. It was a great listen. It was also a great time putting that together because how we did it, we sort of just said, you choose in player A, player B. It was sort of like a bracket, so it was really cool to be a part of. For me, I'm not going with a point guard, but I'm going with someone that I consider one of the best in the league when it comes to the mid-range shot. And you guys know, I don't even know, people are going to start thinking I'm a Bulls fan when I talk about him, but DeMar DeRozan is 4th in the NBA when it comes to points per game, averaging 26 and a third points per game. And he's shooting at nearly 50% from the field. Based on career numbers, we're seeing increased stats when it comes to rebounds per game, and we're also seeing an increase with him when it comes to the three-point shot. Not to mention the Chicago Bulls, they got that number 1 seed right now over in the Eastern Conference. I don't think going into the season a lot of people would have imagined that, especially with all the COVID protocols that the Bulls had to face at one point. They were out, with a handful of role players such as Alex Caruso, so on and so forth. You guys know the last time the Bulls had the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, or I should say finished with the number 1 seed, it's that 2011 to 2012 team with Derrick Rose, Richard Hamilton, Carlos Boozer. I know Iz knows a whole lot about Carlos Boozer, Joakim Noah, all of those guys. I mean, and this was a time in which Jimmy Butler was still on the team, but Jimmy Butler was only playing 8.5 minutes per game. I think he was about 22 years old at the time. So it's crazy to think about. That's how long it's been since the Bulls have been in this position. But I'm excited to see what the Bulls can offer. We've been talking in past shows just about how much the Bulls are going to translate into a playoff setting, whether the Memphis Grizzlies are going to be able to do their thing over in the Western Conference. You never know. I do believe that the Atlanta Hawks will be right back in the mix, how they were last year when things started to come together. But I think those are all really, really strong candidates to make that, all-star team this year. But when we're talking about all-stars, if they're all going to come in, we got to push somebody out who was there last year. So got to throw it right back to you because we talked about this beforehand, but I just want to hear you say it. Who's somebody that was an all-star last year, but they're not making it this year?
Before last year, Julius Randle was not an all-star. He overperformed last year. He became the savior of the New York Knicks franchise. He brought us to the playoffs. and he's back to what he was before last year, unfortunately. Which, let me say something. I'm not going to throw a bunch of dirt on him. A lot of the Knicks fans are all over this man. He's the reason why the Knicks are back on the map at all. So I have nothing but appreciation for what he's done for the team. But there's no question he's been super inconsistent, and it showed in in the win-loss record. We've been inconsistent as a team. There's a lot of times, especially late in the games, a lot of like Russell Westbrook type decisions out of Julius Randle. And it's really tough to watch, and it's tough to admit as a Knicks fan. This doesn't mean he's a trash player or he's irrelevant or he's unworthy of being on the team. He's a really good piece to have, but he is a number 2 to number 3 option. If we're talking about a deep playoff run, which is what everybody really thought all to begin with. And if there was any doubt, it was exposed in the playoffs against the Hawks. But I was hoping, maybe not we, but I was hoping that he would take that loss and he would try to figure it out. And, it's just I just wanted to believe that something was going to happen. RJ Barrett was going to come in, he was going to ascend, and he was going to take over that number 2 spot over Zion Williamson in terms of ranking that draft with John Morant. But it just hasn't happened. Unfortunately, Randall has taken steps back, and I do have to have him narrowly miss the All-Star. And yeah, man, that's how it's gonna go.
Yeah,
you just
it's
witnessed
interesting.
a man in pain.
More than one way.
Well, it's interesting too because Julius Randle, like you said, I mean, he was the bloodline of the New York Knicks, and I know I've been someone who very early into my sports gambling adventures, I was like, oh, Julius Randle's gonna be the guy that makes you a ton of money because he's someone that just stuffs the stat sheet when it comes to points, rebounds, assists, blocks, pretty much everything across the line. But at the same time, there's been games where he just puts up goose eggs. There's been times where he doesn't put up double-digit points or he fails to get the ball with rebounds. It's really, really tough to watch. And until you see your boy RJ come through, I feel like I'm like ragdolling on the Knicks right now, but I'm really not. Like, I love Julius Randle as someone that was on the Lakers previously, but I think it's a fair assessment. Gary, what are sort of your thoughts about someone that you believe that was not wrongfully brought into the All-Star game last year, but sort of showed this year they might not earn their spot?
So last year we had a lot of people. I hope my Wi-Fi is better now. I've switched over, so if I'm laggy, let me know. But last season we had a lot of people that were put in for replacement players because of injuries, COVID protocols, whatever it might be. So I would like to say that this is not a diss in the slightest. I love Mike Conley. Mike Conley is a great veteran point guard for the Utah Jazz, and last season he was a replacement player. So it is pretty obvious in some regards that Mike Conley probably won't make the All-Star team this season. With the position group that he has is just loaded with talent. You got John Morant, Luka Doncic, Spider Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell, Steph Curry, Devin Booker, CP3, and you're still not even counting Damian Lillard, who, although is having a down season, is probably still going to get a good chunk of All-Star votes. I just don't see Mike Conley making it this year. It was a good story last year. He was always given the title of best player who's never made an All-Star game. And once he made it last year, it was almost like a ceremonial kind of, here, thank you for your contributions. I know that you've played in a stacked conference all your career. So, you know what? Here you go. But I just don't see it this year, especially with Gobert and Donovan Mitchell already on that team. The way the Jazz have played recently, and by that I mean playoff performance over the past couple of seasons, I highly doubt that they'll be allowed 3 All-Stars when players that are probably more deserving on better teams or on similar teams won't get the look anyway. So I really just don't see Mike Conley making it. And it's not a diss against him. He's still playing pretty good. He's shooting really well. He's 14-5 on 42% from 3. But it's just not enough. He's playing in a stacked conference. It's hard.
Yeah, I don't know if you could have worded it really any better way than you just did. It's not necessarily that he's not a good enough player. It's just, he happens to be in a conference and in a league where it's so point guard dominated that it just you might get squeezed out at the end of the day, especially even if they're doing these drafts. I know Team LeBron versus Team Durant was what it was last year. Then before that, it was Team LeBron versus Team Giannis. I'm interested to see how the NBA is going to move forward with how they do this upcoming selection process and who gets to be on what team. For me, I'm going with somebody that it might be a little bit of a controversial take because he's having a good year. He's averaging a double-double, but Domantas Sabonis is actually having a down year when you look at the past 2 years where he's been elected into the All-Star game back-to-back years. If you're just looking at his pure averages right now, he's not having the best year. Like I said, he's averaging 18.4 points per game, 4.4 assists, and 12 rebounds. The 18.4 points and the 4.4 assists per game are actually lower than they were in each of the last 2 years. And then that 12 rebounds a game is probably the reason he might get in at the end of the day because that's an absurdly high number, but it matches what he did last year. So how are you really improving your game? What are you really doing? And you also have to look at what the Pacers are doing. Why are we praising somebody that's on a team that's right now 13th in an Eastern Conference? Imagine if the Pacers were in the Western Conference. They might even be lower than that 13th spot. So it's really interesting. And here's sort of my takeaway from it is, I don't know if you guys saw, but in the last couple of weeks, the Pacers have been surrounded with trade talks with Sabonis, and they've been looking to move him before this trade deadline. That's going to come up a lot faster than people realize. My takeaway is, if he's truly an all-star and he's signed through the 2023 to 24 season, why are you trying to trade him? Isn't that the face of your franchise? Isn't that the guy that you want to go win you games? You wouldn't. That's the reason why the Trailblazers are holding on to Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is an all-star. It would be crazy if we were talking about Trae Young, getting traded. It would be crazy if we're talking about John Morant getting traded, or if I said DeMar DeRozan should get traded because we said those were guys that weren't elected into the All-Star game last year but deserve it. You don't hear anything about those guys getting traded because they're franchise players. If Domantas Sabonis is truly a franchise player and he's truly an all-star, he should never even be close to those trade conversations. It should be, how do we surround Sabonis with a more all-star talent or just enough role players? Because that's what an all-star is at the end of the day. That's all these guys, Giannis, KD, Trae Young. I mean, these are guys that win games by themselves. I just don't see – I've watched a lot of Pacers games because, like I said, Sabonis is somebody when he's got a rebound prop, you're usually going on that over mark. Yeah. But I've watched a lot of Pacers games this year, and he's just not the guy. He's not the number one to carry you all the way through the playoffs.
I got to say, Domantas Sabonis, good player. I'm not hating. This next statement, I will be hating. He might be quite possibly the worst all-star of the last 10 years. Wow. And by that, I mean the Pacers they've built this legacy on kind of being competitive and going towards everybody's in brand of basketball. We're going to try to fight for those wins. Even when some teams are tanking, we're not. And they got lucky with Sabonis. He's a great player. I like to state that I say anything before I, completely disrespect the man. But there are a lot of players that I've seen in Pacers uniforms who are good, but then they go and they do other things on other teams, or they go and they play other places, and that dog style mentality doesn't show. And Domantas Sabonis, I fear if he does get traded from the Pacers, that his career just slowly starts to tip down. I'm not as big of a believer in him, I guess, as you are in terms of the offensive, especially the defensive end. So I would like to see if maybe he can prove me wrong on a different team. But in my opinion, Domantas Sabonis kind of overrated. I knew that would make you upset.
That's the exact reaction I was
expecting. I love this.
I mean,
oh, man.
Look, I almost agree with both of you guys, but geez, the way you guys just
all right. Listen, because Gary took it to a whole new level, so I feel like I have to just say two.
Gotta get those clicks.
I have to say two words, and it'll debunk the whole entire conversation. Gary said that he might be the worst All-Star in the last 10 years. I got 2 words for you: Roy Hibbert. This man in 2014,
no.
that's the worst All-Star in the last 10.
No. Okay, a perfect example of somebody that's on the Pacers who kind of got their inflated stats on a good team. My point being with the Sabonis, well, at least Roy Hibbert, the season that he was an All-Star had some potential to be the Defensive Player of the Year. Just putting that out there. Go look at the things. People used to write that. Sabonis, not so much. So that's just when they were the 4th seed, the Pacers, when they were, winning with Victor Oladipo, Domantas Sabonis, like these guys were playing really well for them. And I didn't see a reason to be a hater, if that's what you're going to call me. But Sabonis, when given the team and given the ability to create for himself and for teammates, they're 13th in the East?
13th. Yep.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to. Go ahead.
It's like a Kevin Love light.
Okay, look, Kevin. I actually was going to say something similar to that. I was going to go Kristaps Porzingis light. I do think he could be like a really solid number 2 on a championship team, but he's clearly not a number 1 guy, just like Julius Randle. But that said, his abilities as a big man, you can't really understate it. It's just his play style. It's kind of hard to put everything on him. He is who he is, and he's really good at it. So, and this is the long way of saying I agree with you guys, but damn, like
if I was truly trying to rag y'all on a team, I could have just doubled down on the Knicks hate, and I could have just said Tyson Chandler from the year before when he was elected as an All-Star during his time with the Knicks. But I didn't go there. I didn't say it. I was just saying
they had a top 3. They had a top 3 defense, and Tyson Chandler was a major reason for it. I don't know. Don't look at the stats.
Easy,
that top 3 might be wrong. I have no idea.
I'm only going to go easy on your Lakers because you still have Carmelo Anthony on there, but you guys don't deserve a ton of praise.
Hey, listen, I know it's not for this show. We said the first 6 shows. I feel like on all this Lakers hate and my blood pressure rises. 2022, I'm trying to keep the blood pressure down this year. I can't spend too much time talking about my Lakers, but it'll be interesting.
We don't talk about the Lakers until they matter.
Yeah, and listen, it'll be interesting. There's a long stretch of the season to go, but focusing on tonight, it feels like the show is already sort of flew by talking about these All-Stars and how we analyze these players, but let's focus on tonight. I told you guys before over on the athleteshub.org, I released an article today, props or blocks of the day, which is going to take place all through this upcoming week. Every time you update it, there's probably going to be a new prop in there. Right now, there's one for tonight that I'll get to in just a minute. There's also another one in there for Monday Night Football where I have a bet on Chase Claypool. You're going to have to go in and see if I have the over-under on that. But with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the NBA action tonight. We got a 10-game slate. It's going to be really fun to watch. It's snowing out here in New York, so I just get to stay comfy the whole entire night, watch some NBA action. But, Gary, let's start with you because – this is the first time we're talking about this live on air. I'm putting my trust in you guys. These guys need to make their money, everybody watching. Who is your NBA lock of the day?
Listen, this man has gotten so much hate on this particular podcast. We have called him a myriad of names, one being Dogwater. But shout out to my Twitter follow I just found out today. I know, Devin, you follow this man. At Props for Bread. He has convinced me and he has shown me the light to have Kyle Kuzma 18.5 points tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. I will be taking the over for a lot of reasons. Let me explain. The Hornets are 28th in the league in defense this year. Not only are they 28th in the league, but they give up the most points per game. Their 5th highest field goal percentage. They allow the 5th highest field goal percentage, and they allow the most threes in the league. Not only that, the Hornets run really, really fast offenses. So that gives the other team, just in general, more shot attempts. Kyle Kuzma himself had 29 and 12 on the first of the year against Chicago. He had 25 and 10 the game before and 22 and 7 the game after that. I just think there's no way you can see a Wizards team with this many injuries and not think Kyle Kuzma is going to take at least 20 shots. And over the last 2 games, he shot 66% from the field. So you pair that, just a great hot streak with a bad defense and the ample opportunity to shoot as much as he wants. I don't see why you wouldn't take Kyle Kuzma with the over at just 18.5 points. If the Wizards need somebody to lead this team, today, I mean, they're pretty much looking at either Bradley Beal or Kuzma. I don't see anybody else having as big of an impact. The only person I would see kind of cutting into these points is Bradley Beal, and we're always on waiting for anticipation for Bradley Beal to just drop 50 can. So but with all that said, I personally believe Kyle Kuzma, this 18.5 points over is an easy hit.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna refrain from it. It's a new year. I'll be nicer to Kyle Kuzma. I'd like to think that Kyle Kuzma will eventually be an avid watcher of this podcast. So I'll be nice to him this time around. Last 3 games, like Gary said, he's hit the mark in each of the last 3. It's been a very popular. Like I said, I do a lot of research. I do a lot of. I follow a lot of people. Just like I said, Props for Bread is one of my newest follows, but he's someone that I pay a lot of attention to. He's also been on a hot streak over here. And I think could be right on this one. Kyle Kuzma is someone I normally don't touch when it comes to player props. But the line seems a little high on Bradley Beal. I think it was at 37.5 when it came to points and assists combined. There's a lot of people that are taking the over on Bradley Beal when it comes to 8.5 assists. So if you're somebody that likes the Bradley Beal over 8.5 assists, who's he going to pass the ball to for the open shot? It's probably going to be Kyle Kuzma. It could be Gafford down low. Could be KCP. Right now, the other props that I'm looking at for the Washington Wizards that I see in front of me, KCP is at 16.5 points and assists. Probably not touching that one. Daniel Gafford's a little bit more popular, 25.5 for points and rebounds. I think that one's really interesting. It wouldn't shock me if Kyle Kuzma does hit that. I bet once against Kyle Kuzma, and I bet on the under, and I think it was at 16.5. It was a few weeks ago. And then he blew me out of the water with about 23, 24 points. And I said, I'm never touching Kyle Kuzma again. This might be the night that I do, in fact, bet on Kyle Kuzma. Let's roll it over to you, though, because what's the prop that you're looking at right now?
So I had to do a double take, and I'm not as much of an expert at this as Dev. Dev is the one that has just got me into it. I'm still new to the whole process, but I had to do a double take and look at it. I see Draymond 16.5 points and assists tonight. I feel like that's an easy over for him. I mean, how often has he not gotten above those two when it came to points and assists? And he's coming back from an injury, so he's going to come in fired up. And Draymond is an emotional type of player. He's a leader. So I think in his sleep, he's going to easily pass that 16.5. I'm probably going to bet the house on it. I just got to figure out what I'm going to pair him with. So I'm definitely thinking I'm going to go that route as it pertains to Draymond. If you look at his past 5 games, December 25th, 8 points, 10 assists. December 23rd, 8 points, 9 assists. December 20th, 16 points, 10 assists. Boston, the only time he hasn't surpassed that, actually 2 times. 6 points, 8 assists. 8 points, 7 assists against the Knicks on December 14th. So I feel like it's an easy one, especially because he is coming off an injury. And
Draymond's one of those players that's either going to make you look really smart or he's going to make you look really dumb, because 16.5 seems like a very generous line for somebody of the stature of Draymond Green. He gets to the paint very easily. And if you look at it, they play the Miami Heat tonight that you can see in Gary's background over there. The last time these two faced off was actually all the way back April 1st. I had to do the math in my head, but he put up 16 points with 10 rebounds, 8 assists and 4 steals in that game. It could very well be Draymond's opportunity to carry on with a little bit of rhythm right here. I definitely do like the line. Like you said, there's been a couple of lines where he'll only put up like 6 points, and that's where I get a little bit scared because there's no shot that he's going to make it up with the assists. I feel like you're pretty much betting on about 12 to 14 points from Draymond in this game, and then you're hoping to just cap it off with the assist total is what it sounds like.
You got to think, too, with this team that they're facing, this Heat team, is starting Omer Yurtseven, which is he's been, 22 and 16 last game, not a bad player. He's got a little bit to learn on the defensive end when it comes to rotations, which is, I think, where Draymond's one of the smartest basketball players to ever play basketball. So you can imagine a rookie center is going to have a bit of a hard time matching up with Draymond, especially when they're starting Caleb Martin as well. Although having a decent season, when you're going against someone like Draymond Green, I really don't see any reason not to take this one from Isaiah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll show you guys mine right now, and it's one that I already published on the athleteshub.org. You guys are going to have to go read and find out all about these props that we have going on this whole entire week. We're going to update it constantly, and you can also engage with the props. It's something I was approached by the people over at Pickup Sports who have been partners with us for a long time. They said, hey, like, we'd love to get on the action. All you have to do is literally just put in your phone number and then make your picks. You can win different prizes, and it's an amazing opportunity. Literally all you have to do is type in your phone number. There's no, like, it's not a scam. It's not, you're not getting constant messages or anything like that. It's just to make your account in general. And like I said, you can win a lot of great prizes, but you can engage with the props, choose the over-unders. Join me because I want to make you guys money. I want to make you guys some quick cash, but I have Jaren Jackson Jr. under 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And everyone's going to say, whoa, that's crazy. Even I thought at first it was a little crazy. The line sort of scared me. But after doing a little bit of research, you got to look at how he performs with Ja Morant on the court versus off the court. When Ja Morant is on the court and he is healthy and he is playing basketball, Jaren Jackson Jr. struggles to meet that 25.5 mark. In fact, he's missed it in 18 of the last 25 games. And then all of a sudden you're getting the Brooklyn Nets tonight, who are 5th when it comes to defensive efficiency, and they're also 10th against the three-point shot. Jaren Jackson Jr. also isn't a good three-point shooter in general this season. He's shooting 32.2% from deep. And then you're also, I think some people are scared of the line because the Grizzlies are facing COVID protocols of their own. But at the same time, there's plenty of depth to play behind Jaren Jackson Jr., so I'm pretty confident that he's going to come up short. A lot of the models project that he's going to finish around 22, 23. I hate lines that are that close. I usually like the ones that I'm like, oh, this is a clear over, a clear under. This is one, though, that I think if you get another strong leg to it, it's an easy 2-leg, 3-leg prop. So I feel pretty confident about the Brooklyn Nets being able to slow them down tonight.
You also got to think Desmond Bane has been going off a lot for the Grizzlies. I'm not quite sure if he's playing tonight. I'd have to look that up. But he's been absolutely absurd for that team this year. And so there's another guy that can take away some shots for Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, and I see nothing about Desmond Bane should be green light tonight. He should be playing everything that I've seen. I could be totally wrong. But everything that I've read is even with the COVID protocols that he should be, he shouldn't be playing more than 32 minutes tonight, I would say. I think his ceiling is about 33 or 34 minutes, but even then, it's not numbers that he's used to. So I'm pretty confident that this is going to be a matchup that we can bet our chances on. This season, he's averaging 22.1 when it comes to points, rebounds, and assists. That's both with Morant and on and off the court. But yeah, so it's definitely an interesting 3 props. I think we might have to get the prop going with all 3 of our bets, and I'll see how our chances fare out. And then we might make this a regular topic if we can catch fire. But if we're wrong entirely, we might have to scrap it eventually. But
we're gonna put our monies where our mouths are.
Exactly.
It's dirty, but we're gonna do it. Don't lick your money.
Bet the house. Don't bet the house.
Yeah, don't bet the house right now. But these are definitely 3 individual props that I feel really good about. I'm glad that we got the opportunity to do this. But
I'm taking all the money I've saved for college and I'm putting it on Kuzma tonight.
Okay,
Let's
well,
go.
I don't know. I don't want to call him dog water, but yeah, we're going from dog water to
don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Gambling isn't legal in my state. I don't do it.
Of course not. Of course not. Well, yeah, listen, guys, it's great to be back, and it's great to be doing these shows again. I'm excited to have these other shows come on board as well. This upcoming Thursday, we're going to have the False 9. That's going to be Jonathan. That's going to be Tyler. That's going to be Luke. You guys are going to have to check that out. They do a great job with that. And then starting next week, immediately after the show, we got Free Baseball. Not literally Free Baseball, but that's the name of our newest show, an MLB show with Iz. You're going to be on it a few times, it sounds like. Davis is going to be on there. It's going to be good to have him on there. And then we got Jake, one of the newcomers, is going to be making his debut on podcast. So I'm excited that we're getting all these shows going out. We got all these articles that are coming out every single day. Yeah, and then you can see it right there on the screen. But I'm excited to see what's in store for the Athletes Hub. Excited to see what's in store for the three of us. Let's go get some views and let's go work at it together. But I'm excited to have you guys here next week, same exact time. We'll see you guys then.
Peace out. Oh God.